Success. What does it take to achieve it? Is it talent? Hard work? Who you know? Luck? These are all important, but it's becoming increasingly clear that the biggest determinant is who you are. And I'm not talking about your socioeconomic class, gender, or ethnicity. I'm talking about your character. Character is what makes you, you. It's the why. Why do you do what you do? The other stuff certainly has a big influence on who you are, along with your genes, but they don't define you. Your actions do. Character is what you do when no one is looking. Here at Transformed Games, we're exploring the intersection of games, character, and education. But rather than listen to me talk about this stuff, let's hear from the people in the field, taking risks, honing their craft, and overcoming adversity. After all, character is a diamond that is formed and shaped by challenges. So here's my series of short chats with indie game developers. How did they start? What keeps them going? What lessons can they share? Even if you are not a game developer, I hope their insights will help you pursue whatever your passion is. To kick things off is Tony Powell of Philosophlay. I first met Tony at Gamescape in Baltimore last year, and remember being struck by his passion and thinking, man, I gotta get to know this guy more. Now here's our chance. Welcome, Tony.
Hey, Brian, how's it going? Thanks so much for having me on the show.
It's great that you can join us. I just want to start off by asking you, a lot of people are drawn to indie games because of the passion, and I think it really starts with the game developers and shines through in their games. Can you tell us, how did you get into game dev and why?
Actually, that's a pretty funny story. It was my senior year in high school, and we had a brand new teacher named Mr. Dismuke who taught two classes back to back. One was a programming class, and the other class was 2D animation for web design. And I had both of those classes, and I remember in like the first week, he was showing us an example web page that we would be building by the end of the year. I remember like at the very top of this page was one of those little clickbait banners where it says like, shoot the can, and if you move the mouse inside of the banner, you'll start seeing a little gun move, and if you click on it, you'll shoot the can, it'll take you to some Chuck E. Cheese website or something like that. And I remember like asking Mr. Dismute, are we gonna build something like that? Because it looked like a really cool video game. And he was like, oh, well, that's a little too complicated for what we're going to be doing this year, but you could build something like that with this software. And it was like the moment he said that I can build a game with this software, I was like, that's it. I'm going to try to figure this out. And this is like before YouTube and Google. I think I was surfing all throughout Yahoo trying to figure out tutorials on how to build a game with this software called Director 8. 5 weeks goes by, and like I actually had a working game in the class. And I remember like the week before midterms, Mr. Dismute pulled me into his room. He was like, listen, Tone, I don't know what's going on with you. Like you're the first person in class, you're the last person to leave. You don't even get out of your seat in between classes. But you haven't turned in any homework. You haven't turned in any classwork. You completely ignored the test at the end of every week. Midterms are next week. I see that you're working, but I have no idea what you're working on. And as of now, you're failing my class. So I was like, oh, no. I completely forgot that, like, I had to do work in the class. But I told him that. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm making a video game. And he's like, you're what? I was like, I'm making a video game. Want to play it? And so he sat down at my computer and started playing this little race car game that I had made. And spent like 30 minutes playing the game. And then he pulled me back in his office. He's like, listen, Tone, I'm impressed. That's really, really cool and stuff, right? I'll tell you what, if you can finish this game by the end of the year, you don't have to do any homework. You don't have to do any classwork. You can forget about the test. You still have to do your midterm, and you still have to do your final. But if you can finish this game at the end of the year, I'll give you an A in the class. So I was like, oh, that sounds perfect. If you don't finish the game by the end of the year, I'm going to fail you, because even if you ace your midterm and your final, your homework, classwork, and test make up the other 50% of your grade, and I won't allow you to turn in late work, so you have to finish this game. I was like, oh, snap, the game is on. And so I started working as hard as I could, and it literally took all but the last like 45 minutes of that school year to finish this game. And like I had turned it in, he sat down, played it, was having a great time, but I was in the back of my head, I was praying, when you get to the third level, do not press escape to get out of the game, or else it's going to crash the entire computer, and I have no idea why. So there was definitely bugs in the game, but he played it, he gave me the thumbs up, and I got to graduate on time. And so it fast forward to graduation day. I'm walking out of the place with like my cap and gown on, right? I'm all excited. I finished the video game and I'm graduating on time and it's all good. And Mr. Mute runs up to me. He's like, "Hey, Tone, listen, I'm proud of you. Congratulations. It's a very big day for you. If you're going to do anything in life, really consider sticking with video games because that's your thing, that's your niche. Like I think you found your calling, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." Like an 18-year-old kid, I don't know really what he's talking about. Fast forward a little bit of time after that, I'm at a buddy of my house, and his sister is a senior in high school, and she tells me, she's like, "Hey, Tone, I played your game." And I was like, "You played my game? What are you talking about?" She's like, "I played your game in Mr. Dismuke's class. He uses it as an example to teach all of us how to make games." I was like, "Oh my goodness!" And so since that day, I was like, "Okay, I'm definitely gonna stick with video games and stuff." Like and that's what got me into it.
That's a great story, and it sounds like he was a great teacher, inspiring you to follow your passion.
Yeah, thank you.
Was there any particular game that kind of inspired you to want to make a game?
I really, really, really fell in love with games back with the Nintendo, the NES. It was games like Go-Go 13 and Spy Hunter and Kung Fu and Mike Tyson Punch Out, definitely Mike Tyson Punch Out, and Double Dribble, the old basketball game. Oh my goodness, the old wrestling games. And I've always loved interactive experiences, that tested my wit and my will. Say you're playing Contra and stuff like that, you only get so many lives, especially if you're playing with like your brother and stuff. When you die, even if you get to the very last level, they were very unforgiving. Like you have to start all the way back to the beginning. There was no saves or anything like that. Like I just love those interactive experiences that test your wit and your will, your resolve, and things like that. And yeah.
Awesome. You took me back with those games that you mentioned, because same with me. I grew up playing the NES and loved many of those games that you said. So a lot of people are interested in game development, and with all the tools available these days, it seems easier now than ever to get into the field. But being successful is another matter. Can you tell us what skills and traits it actually takes to finish a game and ship it?
Yeah, to be honest, I've been trying to make video games for the past 15 years, and I've always failed on like one area or another, and I've always had to like go back to the drawing board and have to try to build something around my weaknesses. If you want to like finish the game, you definitely have to have a lot of love and passion for video game development. Playing the games is great, but a lot of people love playing the games but wouldn't be able to stand making a game. And that'll see you through a lot of the dark days, that when you just can't figure out how to get something to work, and you spend a lot of time on something that's ultimately going to turn out to be a failure. If you want to be well-rounded and be a programmer and an artist and a designer, you're going to have to like pick small projects. So if it's just you have to pick something that you can build before you burn out, like that, and planning out everything, like starting off as simple as possible. Like, what is it that makes this game that one wants to make unique? Or even if you don't want to make a game that's unique, even if you just want to make a game that is like another game, you have to break it down into the simplest form and try to build it on paper and pen first. If it's fun on paper, it'll be fun in the video game. But if you can't find that wow factor, if it's not fun, it doesn't get you energetic and excited when it's just in its basic prototype stage, it's not, no matter how much graphics you add to it, it's not going to make the game fun. It's just going to make it pretty, and that only goes so far with a lot of people. So yeah, I would definitely say that if you want to be successful, you have to love failure at what you're doing with game design, because it's going to happen a lot. And also just having like an understanding of what it is that you really want to build and becoming attached to that. Planning out everything and writing schedules for when you want to have things done are all things that are very, very much necessary in order to ship that game.
Wow. My next question was going to be what a typical day was in the life of an indie game developer, but it sounds like, there may not be one. Is there a typical day?
Yeah. It depends on which area you're coming into game design. If you're an artist, when I'm an artist, the typical day is just finding the right look and feel for what it is I want to design and stuff. There's not really many errors that happen when I'm trying to build 3D models or paint textures or even animate so much. You kind of just get into a groove of things and stuff, But as a programmer, it's different. Like as a programmer, you're literally trying to imagine what tools you'll need in order to complete a certain job. And a lot of the times it'll fail. You may have like a theory of how to get something to work, and it won't work, and you're just like going back to the drawing board. And sometimes it will work, but it'll take up too much resources, like and it'll slow the game down. So you got to go back and optimize it and stuff. But those days do happen when everything starts to work properly and stuff. So yeah, it's the typical days, just trial and error, trying to get things to work, and a lot of failure.
You're not making it sound very fun there, but it sounds like it takes a lot of hard work, resilience. Like you have to push on, like even through the bad days, knowing that you love it so much, you want to see it to the end. Yeah, that takes a lot of character, it sounds like. A lot of people talk about character and how we can get our young people to build more character. It sounds like doing what you love and just doing whatever it takes to get it done. That's how you build character.
Absolutely. It's something about the trials and tribulations you're going through to try to fulfill a dream is what's going to build you into the character that you'll need to be once you successfully cross that finish line. Once a person crosses that finish line and becomes successful, it's just like a different lifestyle, a different mentality. Person is a little less naive in terms of how, when they initially got the idea, I'm going to build this fantastic game and it's going to work so well and everybody's going to love it and it's going to be so easy to build. When you're in the trenches trying to actually build it, you'll just realize you didn't take into account so many different things and how difficult it'll actually be. But when you finish it and you come out on top, you'll just have more wisdom, and you'll be able to weather any other storm that comes their way and stuff.
Tell us a little bit more about what you're working on now.
Our first game that we're going to be shipping is called That Rock, Paper, Scissors game. It's played like Pac-Man, where it's top down and you can move up, down, left, or right. You're either rock, paper, scissors, and the objective is you have to smash into one player but avoid smashing into the other. You can use things like power-ups. Power-ups are like landmines. You could drop 3 landmines on the ground, and turning temporarily invisible is another power-up. There's going to be at least like 9 or 10 different levels that you can play for, and it's just like a multiplayer game. You can play with your buddies or you can play against the computer and stuff.
I've actually played this game at Gamescape, and it's really a lot of fun. It really reminds me of, we were talking about earlier, Tony, about those old NES games where, you're in the room with, your buddies and you're playing, and it's just a lot of fun. Like, it takes me back to those days.
Thank you. Yeah, that's certainly the intention. I mean, like when you're playing local multiplayer, you have your friends in the same room. You're all energizing off of people. Remember playing like the old Street Fighter games or the old Snake games where you're chasing each other around, or you're trying to like get the one up on the other player with these cool different attacks and stuff, and these combos that you've been practicing for so long. And that's something that like was always important to me. Like I've always loved multiplayer games. But like definitely playing online, I feel as if I lost the feeling of being with my genuine friends and stuff. Like I want to be able to see the look on other players' faces when they know I just beat them and stuff. It's like, yes.
I know you're really busy, and I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. It's definitely been a blast, and I'm really glad we finally got to do this.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tony Powell. I love his story about how he got started because it really shows what is possible when our young people are encouraged to follow their passion. Passion is really the key to character development. Like Tony said, pursuing passion molds you into the person you need to be in order to succeed. Character education is good and very necessary, but learning by doing is even better. Tony's story also highlights the power of a great teacher and hints at the potential of game making for project-based learning and character building. If you like Tony's work, please follow him on social media. His game is starting its Steam Greenlight campaign on May 12th, so hop on over to Steam and vote it up. If you like this video, please share it with others who might like it as well. And if you or anyone you know would like to be interviewed for this series, please contact me. I'd love to chat with you. Thanks for tuning in, and thank you, Tony. You rock. Paper and scissors.